get no sleep cause of y'all. Y'all not gonna get no sleep cause of me.
I like Garrett Nussmeier as a person and a player. He came in the traditional way of waiting his turn and not transferring to another school for more playing time. He's a good player, but he's not Joe Burrow, and he sure as hell isn't Jaden Daniels. Not really his fault when that offensive line allowed Florida, yes, fucking Florida, who was mere inches from their head coach going to the electric chair over a month ago, to sack him 7 goddamn times in this game. No, the problem lies only at the feet of Brian fucking Kelly. I don't know what the hell is going on in that coach's office, but it is not good. He's lost control of his team. He's constantly yelling at people on the sideline and arguing. Hell, Kyron Lacey went up to him and was yelling right back at him at one point during the game. This team is in free fall, and I don't think they found the bottom yet. You can't point the finger at getting thrashed by Alabama because Florida got mauled by Texas last week, and they came out with a lot more heart than we've seen all season. Billy Napier got a ton of flack last week, and it turned out to be a bunch of hot air. This team, with the return of DJ Lagway, has a chance to do something no one thought possible back in September. They can go bowling. LSU, on the other hand, is fucking dead. Left to pick up the pieces of a completely wrecked season. No SEC title, no playoffs. It's also the first time in 10 years Brian Kelly won't coach his team to a 10-win season. Maybe he is a bum after all. Ah, yes. The Louisville Cardinals take a nice West Coast trip to take on the lowly Stanford Cardinal in what I would like to dub, forever fourth, the Cardinal Bowl. The problem is I think the time zone change was a little much on them because their offense was very late to get going in this game. Stanford takes the lead early off a field goal and a touchdown. Louisville then finally does wake up and eventually climbs up to a 35-21 lead late in the fourth. Should be all secure, right?
And he goes to the air. Floats one. Man open. He's Io Manor. He's on the loose. They got the angle on him and bring him down near the 20.
In that end zone.
Butler in the backfield to the left of Daniels. Daniels. Pocket closing. Over the middle. Touchdown. Emmett Mosley. Another touchdown.
Oof, okay. Getting a little closer than we'd like, but it's fine. Just get a good drive together and we can go home. Wait, you had the punt?
Lamson, he's going to go to the air. Takes a hit, throws it up. It's caught for a touchdown. Emmett Mosley, his 3rd score of the game.
You allowed Stanford to string a 9-play touchdown drive together to tie the game. One of the worst teams in FBS just did that to you. Well, that's just great. Now we got to play longer and go to overtime. Wait, you're going for it on 4th down?
I like them being aggressive right now.
4th and 10. Shuck drops back. Lets it fly. End zone incomplete. Intended for Brooks.
Why are you turning the ball over on downs here? What the fuck is your coach smoking? Just hold Stanford at bay and get to overtime already.
And he does, but not much there. So one sideline.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense number 20, his first of the game.
Aw, brother, what the fuck? Of all the times to run your mouth and get a 15-yard penalty, this is the worst possible time. Now, Stanford has a second left, enough time to get off a 57-yard field goal attempt. The good news is it's just a little too far for their kicker to make it.
Oh, Louisville jumped off sides.
It is even funnier a second time.
What?
The kick is up. It's gone! Stanford with the walk-off!
I don't even know what just happened or how to verbalize the gross stupidity we saw, but what I do know is Louisville went west to Palo Alto, flew high in the air, and crash landed into a wall of fucking trees. Bet you weren't expecting Old Crimson here, did ya? While we have been watching the SEC cannibalize itself for playoff spots, one team suddenly fell on my radar this past week, Washington State. At 8-1, they have a small chance of still making the playoffs despite being in the two-team conference of the Pac-12. They can't get an automatic qualifier spot since it's too small of a conference, but an at-large bid is still in play, as long as they take care of New Mexico.
By Wilson. Dampier on the draw. Dampier with room. Keeps his feet. Dampier into the end zone. A 33-yard touchdown run for the sophomore from Phoenix, Arizona. To this Cougar defense. And Sanders with some room. And Sanders in for the New Mexico touchdown. We're an extra point away from being all tied up in Albuquerque.
Guys, you gonna do something?
Focused and have been in this situation before. As pressure is coming, Mateer lets it go. And how about that? No wonder.
It's not gonna do you any favors with a close win, but a win is still a win. Wait, New Mexico drove down the field?
Here's Dampier forcing his way into the end zone. New Mexico.
Don't do Washington State, kids. Not even once. What the fuck? Holy shit. Okay. Well, this came out of left field now, didn't it? Holy shit. Suddenly, you went from champs to chumps in a matter of weeks, Kansas State. Yeah, you made it closer in the end, but Jesus Christ, what a disaster to finish the season for you bastards. Get in the corner and think about what you did, because I don't even know how the fuck this is possible. What in the hell? Watching this live, there was one thing I noticed with Tennessee. They're good. Nico is a great quarterback, and that defense is legit. Dylan Sampson ran the ball well and made his presence known. This is a talented team. Georgia, on the other hand, is filled to the brim with high-end talent. Everywhere I looked watching the game, I saw Mel Kiper's name being brought up and their spot in the upcoming draft being projected. When a college football team plays against a team full of future NFL stars, it's not shocking to learn the NFL team wins. Georgia isn't playing great. They still struggled early and often. Carson Beck continues to underperform, but got it together late in the game. Georgia's skill positions are depleted due to injury, and that can really affect them come postseason time. Georgia nearly avoided disaster twice, with back-to-back fumbles being overturned and recovered by them. If I'm a Georgia fan, I'm waking up the morning after wondering if they will be one and done in the playoffs, because I feel like at this point they would be. Don't worry, Tennessee, you're not out of it yet. It's just going to be a lot more complicated the rest of the way. Okay, seriously, what in the fuck happened here? I know the Ducks have a tendency to fumble away the season near the end, but this was ridiculous. Oregon's offense was shut down the entire game. Dylan Gabriel couldn't get going and made some mistakes throughout the night. What saved them, simply put, was Wisconsin's offense being undercooked. I think that Luke Fickell is one of the most underrated head coaches in college football. I saw his work as an assistant at Ohio State and as a head coach at Cincinnati, so I do think Wisconsin is in very good hands and close to a rebirth, but man, this shit just takes time. Despite this, Wisconsin at times had the Ducks on the ropes, and when it wasn't the Badgers keeping down Oregon, it was themselves doing no favors. Case in point, near the end of the game, they don't take the fucking points on a field goal attempt, instead getting cheeky and deciding to fake it, which fails. Thankfully, Wisconsin's offense continues to throw the ball too damn low, and it's tipped and intercepted almost immediately. Oregon escapes the bounce house with a bad win. A really bad win. They'll likely remain number one on Tuesday regardless, but now Washington has an idea on how they can do the funniest shit ever in 2 weeks. I don't know if this was Kansas finally playing up to their potential or BYU getting karma after being handed that win last week against Utah. I like to think it's a little bit of both. Devin Neal breaks out for Kansas, scoring a pair of touchdowns on the ground, and after their win against Iowa State last week, Kansas is riding a ton of momentum to close out the season. BYU got caught flat-footed, and Mr. BYU, Jake Retzlaff, couldn't save the Cougs from the wrath of the Jayhawk. Honestly, I felt this Cougs team was legit, but after seeing them fail hard in the red zone all game long against Kansas, I'm having second thoughts. Doesn't get any easier for BYU. Remember that Arizona State team that demolished Kansas State? Yeah, that's who you got next week. Have fun with that. Meanwhile, your loss just caused something one thought impossible at the start of the season. Colorado is now tied in first with you for the Big 12. God help us all. Alright, let's take a quick look around the rest of college football. MAC, Sun Belt, Conference USA, get the fuck out of here. You guys are not included. In the American, Tulane and Army have punched their tickets to a conference championship game. It's a shame we won't get Army Navy ×2 this season, but more importantly, this is potentially for a playoff spot. If Army does the improbable and upsets Notre Dame next week, that 5th automatic qualifier becomes more contentious. Boise State in the Mountain West has locked up their spot in their title game after a tough game against San Jose State. For them, the playoffs is a simple path. Win out. Meanwhile, in the ACC, Clemson barely survived Pitt and escaped with the win. They're now sitting in second place. SMU, on the other hand, took care of Boston College and is now staying at the top in first. Miami was idle this week, so all they have to do is win out, and they'll probably end up passing Clemson to take the second spot in Charlotte. With an easy schedule, you would think that would be easy enough for them to do, but we'll see about that. The Big Ten remains the same for now, but the matchup this week between Indiana and Ohio State is massive. Winner will likely go to Indianapolis to play Oregon for the Big Ten championship. It would also potentially clinch a spot in the playoffs for either team to win here. It's do or die. Penn State needs Ohio State to lose this week and Indiana next week to make it in themselves. If one of those two things doesn't happen, they're not going to Indianapolis, but playoffs are not out of the question still. The Big 12 is a little easier to understand now as Kansas State's title hopes are up in flames. Colorado's blowout win over Utah puts them in control of their own destiny. It won't be easy as the resurgent Kansas is waiting for them next week, but the final game of the season is going to be a pile of shit, Oklahoma State. Should be easy enough to win for them. BYU, on the other hand, must now reckon with the rise of the Devils themselves, Arizona State. They got to play them next week. The Sun Devils now occupy third in the Big 12 and suddenly have a real shot of making the title game if they knock off the Cougars. Iowa State took care of Cincinnati, but now they need some help making it to Arlington. They need to win out and have at least 2 of these other 3 teams lose 1 game. The SEC is still a shit show, but we've trimmed the fat at least. LSU is out of the picture entirely, and Georgia lives to fight another day. With Texas and Texas A&M going to war in the final week of the season, that all but means one of them will go to Atlanta. And for now, it is way too early to say with certainty who will dance with them. But the one tiebreaker that is gaining attention is combined winning percentage over all conference opponents. That is the level 4 tiebreaker, because tiebreakers 1, 2, and 3 are all out of the window due to the number of teams involved and most not playing each other. Currently, with the level 4 tiebreaker in this area, that would put Alabama at that all-important second spot. However, if Missouri loses both of their final 2 games, Alabama would be out and Tennessee would be back in. I won't go any further than that because the math is just way too fucking complicated for this, but suffice to say it's far from certain right now. This next week is absolutely critical. Buckle up those chin straps tight and get ready because it's white knuckle time in college football. Hold on to your ass.